Jive Jeff from Two Hacks Garage. Well, we're back at Jimmy's shop and we're going to do a little bit more work on the 521. So what you see here is the Milodon windage tray. And as I said in a previous video, we did have their Milodon windage tray stud kit. However, we ordered a Clayton. Sorry that the studs aren't in here, but we ordered a Clayton. The reason we did that, factory specs on the mains call for 95 to 105 foot-pounds. ARP studs split that difference, and the bolts are down to 100 foot-pounds. The Milodon, you actually only go 85 foot-pounds. So to make this thing even, after talking with some guys, I went ahead and ordered the Clayton kit, so every main is even at 100 pounds. This is an adjustable up and down windage tray. I do have the stroker crank in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this installed. And I did get a Mellings high volume oil pump. We did open up the clearances. We are running a little bit looser on all the tolerances. So we're going to go ahead and get working on that and start buttoning some stuff up. See you soon. All right, so what we got going on here with the Clayton studs and with this stroker crank and clearance. So with the Milodon, they stick up further and you can space it from up here and move it up and down. Well, when you see, you put this on there, it actually doesn't clear. So we're gonna make some stands for this. That's gonna raise it back up and put it in the right spot. So we're gonna get cranking on that. All right, going to provide a quick update. You're seeing a whole lot of machining going on. So what we're doing is when we put the Clayton windage tray mounting kit in there, it's actually too short for this pan to actually sit in here correctly. And that's due to the stroker crank. So this doesn't go down. So instead of going and using the Milodon ones that are taller, what we did is we're actually making our own mounting studs. So Jimmy is a hell of a machinist, and he's taken stainless steel bar stock, and what he's done here is he's threaded the internal and also made a stand. So what happens is these things thread over here, and this is stainless steel. It's going to go right over that there, and we're going to make 4 of these, of course, but you can see that it stood up here. Probably still have to do a little bit of machining to get the height right, but what that's going to do is once we get these 4 correctly, we can then go ahead and put these down. Well, it's backwards. Go ahead and put these down like this, and it's going to keep the crank off the bottom of that pan. The other thing that we do have to make sure that we do get right, and we've already done this, is when we put this pan on there to make sure nothing is hitting in here, and that's where we'll have to make our adjustments to make sure it's right on here. But as you can see, this gives us the proper spacing by the crank. It's not going to hit. Like I said, we did go with a bigger crank because it's a stroker, so that's what's causing this problem initially. But you know what? Jimmy's a really good machinist. He's got this taken care of, and so we just got to make the other 3 of these, and we'll be good. So this is one of those cases where if you run into a problem, it's always good to have an expert on hand to be able to do this. Worst case scenario for us, I would have probably just went and thrown the Milodon in here, but I don't really feel comfortable doing that. I wanted all these at 100 foot-pounds, and like I said before, the Milodon would only go to 85. These Claytons are the correct ones at 100, just like the ARP studs. So we got a little bit of work to do, a lot more work than we intended to do today, but as you can see, this is going to work. It's kind of one of those moments where you make lemonade out of lemons, so check that out. Making our own studs, and just for reference, since we do have a bare motor, we are cleaning these threads up, going to get everything clean, so all the little filings, they're not getting down there. So let's go make 3 more of these, start test fitting. See you soon. All right, so as Jimmy's working on machining the rest of these studs here, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna test fit the oil pump on here to make sure everything clears. That's one thing that can come into play with some of these stroker engines is actual oil pump clearance within your crank and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that while Jimmy's machining, and we'll see what happens. See you in a few. All right, so a quick update on that. The oil pan does clear the pump that is up here. We got the right amount of tolerance in between the two. So what I went ahead and did, because of, the stroker motor, I wanted to make sure that the crank rods and everything were going to miss up in here. It is probably a good ½ inch away, but I'm gonna go ahead and crank this over so you can see that there is actually nothing that is actually hitting, and kind of show you what you need to look for when you're doing a stroker motor. I'm using a Mellings high volume oil pump, ARP bolts, and all that type of stuff. with this. So just watch in there. We got way more enough clearance everywhere, well more than a ½ inch. So we are good to go on that. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is get these all tightened up and see where Jimmy's at on machining the rest of those studs, and we can start assembling some more of this. See you in a few.